Welcome to the Wed Pro Podcast, the show for wedding professionals and business owners.
Each month, we bring you top industry experts, business chat, and hints and tips to grow your business.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Roxy.
Welcome to the Wed Pro Podcast. So welcome back to this episode, and on this episode it's really nice actually to have a guest speaker with us.
It is, yeah.
Isn't it, Roxy? Because if you've kind of joined us for previous seasons, you'll know that we normally have guests on, but this season we had too much to talk about, didn't we, Roxy?
We did, so it was just me and you.
But, you know, we'll always admit when we're not strong on something, aren't we? And we always think it's better to go to somebody that knows their stuff, which brings us nicely to Justine, and who we've got in today to talk all things SEO with us. And Justine works in our industry. She's a wedding celebrant and also an SEO coach for the wedding industry. So
welcome to the Wed Pro Podcast.
Welcome, Justine. Do you want to just introduce yourself to people listening?
Thank you both. I am Justine, as you said. I'm based in Kent in the south of England. And yes, I'm a wedding and a funeral celebrant, actually, but I'm a wedding celebrant, so I'm within the wedding industry. But I help creatives in the wedding industry to really understand how to get their website seen on Google, which is SEO.
Yeah, this is like one of those tricky things. And actually, what you find most wedding professionals start with is kind of doing it themselves, isn't it?
Correct.
And I remember when I was building my first website for the bridal shop that we had.
I can remember when you was building your first website.
It went through a lot of changes, but SEO can seem like this scary kind of topic on it, and even now, I'm happy to say I'm definitely not an expert in SEO at all. How did you kind of get into this SEO thing then, starting being a celebrant?
Well, I, like many people, have set up my own website. So I actually didn't go down the WordPress route, which a lot of people recommend for SEO, because I thought, okay, I need to get this up and running. I need something that's sort of quite easy to follow. So I went down a route of Weebly, which is one route. And I set it all up. I had this great little website, and I was thinking, oh, this is great, and then thought, well, actually, I can't even find myself on Google. And they say,
oh, where's the best place to hide a dead body?
Page 2.
On page 2 of Google.
Absolutely.
Nobody kind of searches past page 1 today.
No. I mean, you might get found on page 2, but it's anywhere beyond that. So, and what you have to remember is SEO is slow. It's a progressive thing. So Google likes to trust you as a website. So brand new websites have the hardest chance of getting moving, first of all. But once you're there, you need to then start promoting your website to Google so that they trust you to be able to promote you to your ideal clients. So it's just, so I got into it because I needed to know what to do. And I thought, well, I don't really want to pay someone else. I haven't paid someone else to do my website. I really don't want to pay someone else at the beginning of my business journey. So how do I do it? And I just looked everywhere. I did trainings, I did workshops, I did challenge weeks, I Googled it, I did online courses. Anything I could find to then do the next step is what I did, until I started watching my website move. And that was actually quite exciting, and from a very geeky point of view. And I'm not geeky at all in terms of technology, or anything like that. But it's just satisfying when you actually do then achieve the point of getting to that front page on things you want to be found for. Then what I was finding was I had some fellow celebrants that I'd trained with that were saying, wow, well, how have you done it? And so I started putting it all together, and I started running a course, and that's how I got into it. So it's very much training people in the wedding industry. So we're talking very much at our market, our ideal market, even though, we've got photographers and we've got celebrants and we cover all areas. But at the end of the day, we're all looking for wedding couples to buy our services or products. Mm-hmm. So it's talking on a very simple level and just leading people through the basic steps to start your website moving and getting it seen.
No, which is great. And, one thing that you just said before that, it is something that is slow to build, but I imagine, and actually I do know, that once you are there, it's worth it, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. And Google is the biggest machine out there that's wanting to promote you. It wants to promote good businesses. It wants to promote businesses it trusts, because then people keep Googling. I mean, we say the word Google, but that's what we do. We literally go onto Google and search for things. And that's our main way of finding any service or product that we want in life. And
how crazy that Google has now become a verb.
Yeah, it has. I mean, yeah.
So I already have a little question. I'm like no good at SEO at all. But when you say slow, so it's a slow process. So when, say, you're a new business, you've set up your website, how long does the process take for it to start?
It's going to take a couple of months to really get up there.
Yeah.
But there's plenty you can be doing to promote that, and you may find just some blogs I know are the bane of a lot of small business lives. The thought of having to sit down and write, but blogs can give you instant access because you're answering questions straight away that are key. So by blogging at the beginning, you've got more chance of getting direction through to your website. But there are so many small steps that you can make, and it sounds so scary. Even SEO, I mean, it doesn't even mean anything, but when you break it out, it's search engine optimization. Google is your search engine, and you are optimizing your website so that Google finds it or any other search engine finds it. And so once you've broken it down into smaller, more manageable parts, you can start flying. There's no reason why you can't.
Yeah, and is this something that you would recommend? I mean, you've done it yourself and successfully. We've obviously all had a little bit of extra time these past few years, but now, weddings are picking back up again, and we are getting busier. We've got a busy season ahead of us, a busy year ahead of us. Is this something that you would recommend outsourcing, or is it something actually that if you are methodical with it and, you follow steps and you're committed to getting it done, that people can do it themselves?
Absolutely. Do it. You can pay people to do it. Obviously, that we can pay anyone to do anything in life. But if we were paying for search engine optimization, we'd be paying quite a substantial monthly amount, month in, month out, because it's an ongoing task, and they will continue to be checking to see if there's any breaks in your website or any pages aren't working, or if there's any other opportunities to get backlinks, which are links from other websites. And so they'll be charging you quite a substantial amount of money, whereas actually you can do most of this during the quieter season. So, do the main tasks, which are checking things are working correctly, or your technical side of it, which sounds scary, but it isn't. It's just being directed to where you are. Checking out keywords that people phrases that people are using, your ideal customers are using. And then once you've done all that hard work and it isn't hard work, but it's small pieces that seem a lot, even prepping blogs or thinking about blog posts, get at some sort of storage of some key stuff, which from there you can do your social media and all sorts of other avenues that you can go from there. But get that done in the quieter, slow season. And then during the summer season, get those photos, get those connections, get all the stuff ready again to really start building up your next low season, and you can build on it again. But it doesn't have to be big and scary. It's not a big job every week. It's not a big job every month. It's just some initial stuff that you need to sort out and really get the structure of your website right. And then the rest of it can follow.
Okay, brilliant. So I think that kind of leads us into kind of like your top tips or what people can take away from this episode and kind of implement into their business. If there's somebody that hasn't really looked at their SEO, and even actually we do speak to a few businesses that don't even bother with websites, which we would say, well, we would never recommend. What's your thoughts on that, Justine?
Websites are your domain. They're your space on the internet.
100%. Yeah.
Social media is great. It gets you out there. It gets you seen. It's instant. It's got a massive network. But as we all saw a month or so back when it all went down,
yeah,
you don't own it, and they can pull the plug on your account for no apparent reason. Yeah. And then you're trying to desperately. We hear these horror stories of these massive accounts of huge followings that suddenly get the plug pulled and they have to start from scratch again. Whereas with your website, you'll have it backed up. It's your area. So what I would say is it is a good investment, even if it's the most simple website in the world. You can optimize your website so it can be seen. One of your biggest friends is Google My Business. I mean, you don't even need a website for Google My Business. Now, if anyone listening to this doesn't know what Google My Business is, literally just type it in to your search engine and it will come up. Google My Business is the listing that comes up. It's owned by Google, which obviously, is great for a start because they're the ones you're trying to impress.
Because it's Google.
In the first place. It's free, which is another main bonus. And for local suppliers, so a lot of suppliers, some wedding suppliers won't necessarily have an area that they cover, but cake makers or florists or celebrants, have a particular area that they're wanting to target. So if someone was to put in a search for a modern celebrant in Kent,
yeah,
they would find me because I would be listed in the local listings for Google My Business. Now, all you have to do is set it up online. And that's the first thing I would say to you is set it up. You get a postcard that comes back to you. It goes snail mail to get back to you, but that's just to confirm your address. And then you put in the code that they send to you. And then after that, you have got a Google My Business page. And that is a massive selling point. If you've already got that, I would say optimize it. Really go through it and get reviews on there, add photos, add posts, use it as its own social media in its own right, because that's a massive resource and that gives you trust with Google, which is what you're trying to do on SEO at the end of the day. So even if you haven't got a website, Google My Business, you should set up.
Is it just businesses that have kind of an area or only serving certain counties or towns and cities, or could I'm trying to think of a business that actually wouldn't be so location specific?
Invitations, maybe,
yeah.
Sort of that type of thing, or maybe veils that are ordered online. You can still set up Google My Business. There's no reason why you can't set up Google My Business. It's the area can be massive that you're covering, but it's such a valuable tool in your SEO armory. So I would 100%, that would be my first thing I would say to everyone: either go and get it or improve it.
Or go and improve it,
and optimize that. You touched on backlinks a minute ago. So, yes. Let's talk a little bit more about backlinks.
Backlinks are when other websites list your website on their page.
Yeah.
And each website has its own power, for want of a better word. So we're all rated differently depending on how much traffic we get, how big we are as an industry. So Marks and Spencers are obviously going to have much more power than the little boutique down my high street. But if I was listed somewhere on another website, I would then get that backlink, which shows Google that I'm trusted by other people. So one great way of doing this is styled shoots, because with styled shoots that are going out to publications, wedding publications, you will get a listing on your website as one of the contributors from the styled shoots. So styled shoots are a great way, not only of collecting, especially if you're a new business, of collecting relevant photos for your website, for your social media and all the rest of it. But it's also a fantastic way of getting some really strong, especially if it's going to some of these big magazines in the wedding industry, some really good links back into your site.
Do wedding directories count as backlinks?
Wedding directories, I was involved in a conversation actually on your site yesterday. Wedding directories do have a lot of value from an SEO point of view. With links, you can set it up as a no follow or a follow link, and a lot of directories won't have that follow link. So that then sort of cuts out some of the benefits from an SEO point of view. However, some directories do allow that follow through. That if they trust you, and it's quite often more specific directories in the wedding industry, so smaller directories. But what it will do is if you were to Google yourself or your business, and if you were to look to see where you are on that page, you will have some of these bigger directories that will list you as higher up than you can be, because they're a bigger,
and Facebook as well.
And they're a bigger trusted entity. Social media, again, they will list very high because they're big organizations. Yeah. But by having your name in there, when people Google a specific phrase, a specific keyword, and you've got that in your description, Google will pick that up through. So it may be an indirect link to your website, but by people Googling your service or product, they may find you in a directory, and then that leads straight to your website. So there is a lot of value on free listings, because you can start spending a fortune on directory listings if you're not careful. So you need to be picky on your directories if you want to, sort of invest in directories. But a lot of directories are free. So, and that's an extra piece of gold. It's an extra lead back to your website.
So what are the kind of things that tell Google that you're a trustworthy site?
You're trustworthy. A period of time that you've been around is a factor. So that is going to affect you. But, I moved up within sort of 6 months. I'd moved up to where, I was moving in the right direction. So it's not just all about time that you're there. You need to be current. So you need to be keeping your information up to date. Mm-hmm. Your information or your contact details need to be exactly the same over everywhere you post. So whether it's Facebook or Instagram or your website or your directories, wherever you have your information, make sure that it's consistent across every platform.
I think that one is something that we see quite a lot of, don't we? When we're working with our clients or when we're doing audits for businesses, that it can vary quite a lot from the website to Facebook to Instagram to Google My Business. So it all does need to be.
And I think people maybe start off without a plan necessarily at the very beginning and change their name slightly and tweak it. Yeah. But if you can keep that, if you can rein it all in so that it stays linked, then that will do you well. Another thing I would suggest is looking at the speed of your website and the whole user experience on your website. So Google looks at how quickly your website loads, for example, and it may be tenths of a second difference, but the size of your photos on your website can make a difference. So Google is looking at all sorts of aspects to see how they trust you, whether the experience that you're creating is a good one for your end user, and what value you're also bringing. So when it looks at you as an overall package, it's heading it. It wants to know, Google wants to know, or also any of the other social, any of the other search engines want to know that you're trusted, your website is great, and therefore they can direct the people to you, knowing that you're going to do a good job in sort of, they can't know how good you are as a wedding planner or as a photographer, but what they can see is how good your website is, and therefore that creates the trust.
Okay, talk to us about pictures. One of the things that we know that's like Google can't see pictures, can they? So what? And this actually is something that, we're doing some website changes today, like we spoke to you a little bit before. I've kind of put my pictures in, and then I know that I need to go back in and I need to change all of the like alt text and all of that sort of stuff.
You do.
How important is that for people to be doing, rather than just uploading images?
Really important, really important. Photos will slow down your website like nothing else. But we're in a visual industry, so photos are so important, but we need to make sure that the photos are working with our website, not against it. So you can reduce the size of your photos, not physically looking at them in a smaller image, but the amount of data that's held behind that photo is what slows it down, because that's how long it takes for it. We've all been on, our phones or whatever, when we've opened up a website and it's taken forever to load photos up. And that may be partly the speed of our internet or our 4G or whatever, but also it's the size of the photo they've put on there. So there's all sorts of ways around that, but one of the basic ways is just reducing the amount of data. So a PNG file is beautiful and really crisp and all the rest of it, but it holds so much data. Convert it to a JPEG, and I'm probably scaring a few people here by even mentioning these different phrases, but reduce it to a JPEG and you've already gone one step, and then you can reduce the data on that without affecting it. It's not going to the naked eye, it's not going to look any different on a website, but just by keep reducing it down and tweaking it and compressing it, you will make your website faster. And then you mentioned about alt text.
Yeah.
Every photo on the internet has what's known as alt text, and alt text is, I believe, was originally set up for people visually impaired, so that it would help people understand when a photo came up on the internet, on the web, what that photo was showing them. So it's a descriptive phrase, but Google uses that descriptive phrase to actually direct people to your website if it fits in with their search. So alt text is very important to get your keywords, the phrases that people are looking for to find that particular page of your website. That all needs to be aligned. And again, this sounds like a lot of work, but it's just the initial setting up stage, really. And if you update your photos, then you just need to go through that process of when you upload your photos to make sure that they're smaller, make sure they've got the alt text that's really good to get people to your site. And then you leave it. It works its magic for you.
And what would you say, you would put in the alt text?
I was just going to say, yeah.
So like you said, so if there was a photograph of myself and Roxy on there, or maybe let's say a wedding cake or something like that. Do I think, okay, I want to make this as keyword friendly for Google as possible and start putting my keywords in for like wedding cake maker, East Midlands, or is it more of a description of what the image is? How does that work?
It's both. So you want it to be a true reflection of what's in the picture. Mm-hmm. And what you don't want to do is every photo on your site say Katie and Roxy
have the same.
in prison. You know, you don't want every single one of your photos, because Google will start saying, well, hold on a second, every single photo isn't the same here, and you've got the same description. So you want to say Katie and Roxy, you know, sort of working in whichever field it is you're particularly sort of trying to promote on that page. So what you want to do for each page of your website is you want to try and define on each page what that page is answering. And then those photos within that page, you want to be giving a descriptor which uses your keywords, but also understands the photo as well.
So is there normally like a limit to the amount of alt text you can put on each image, or does that depend on the website provider? Or
you don't want a huge number of words. You don't want it to be very long, and you want it to be to the point but descriptive. So know, you don't want reams in your alt text. You want just one sentence which describes what it is that the picture represents, whilst including your keywords in there where you can. So it's trying to get that balance between the two. What you don't want is just be throwing keywords left, right and centre, and it's called keyword stuffing. You don't want to be keyword stuffing.
We were just going to come on to that in terms of like keyword spamming, and Google likes it to appear quite naturally, doesn't it?
Yes.
Talk us through that and kind of.
The technology Google are using now is so advanced and so incredible. You know, it's Google as a technology can now understand a lot more nuances than ever could before. So in the past, and as I understand it, the way that SEO first started out, people would just throw keywords left, right and centre, every single word to do with your particular industry. So if you were a florist, you would be, you'd be talking about bouquet. You would just have sentences that didn't make any sense, because you were trying to get wedding bouquet and wedding this and wedding that and this flower and that flower, so that anyone that Googled roses in a bouquet would come up because you'd got a sentence with a whole load of your keywords in. Google now understands that and sees through that and says, no. If you're just putting all these keywords into sentences that don't mean anything, then we don't trust you. You're not doing this correctly. You're not creating the best experience for your client. You're not talking naturally. You're just throwing in words that don't mean anything just to direct people to your site. So they've got very clever about all of this now. And, and so they want you to speak normally, but there are places on your page where you will make a difference. And that's understanding the SEO and where to put your keywords in different parts of your pages to really direct people there, and for Google to understand that that's what you're answering when people put in the query into Google.
So do you think when we're writing about pages and we're writing paragraphs on home pages, I kind of think, maybe because we're more social media and that's kind of more instant and quick. But I kind of think that most people, millennials, almost don't want to read massive chunks of text, but yet, Google wants us to have chunks of text on our website. So is that text there really? Are there any clever ways that people can kind of bring people's attention and focus to certain parts of the text that's on their site, or clever ways that you can get the keywords in, but maybe not be going on for days and days and days about things that people aren't probably not going to read?
Yeah. You want to be making sure that your keywords are in your first paragraph. Google wants text. It wants to understand you, and we have, particularly like photography or whatever, the websites are all about the pictures, but you need the text in there as well to be able to, and you can't even hide the text. You can't hide it on white font on a white background.
Or behind pictures or anything.
Google knows what you're doing. Google's too switched on now. So you can't do all of that hiding things in places. You can use alt text, which we've discussed, which will describe your picture. But you do need a good paragraph at the top of your page, which will really help Google to identify what you do, where you do it, what your niche is, and, you know, really just get to grips with that. So you do have to have text for your SEO to improve.
So what about if you've got, I don't know, you've got hidden pages on your website? Does Google read those? Or
we have hidden pages on our website. So we would have, for example, if we wanted to create a landing page from Instagram, for example, that might be hidden to our website, but you can click through from Instagram and get to that. That's still readable by Google some of the time, right? I know on my website provider we can tick the box to say
you can tick. So you just say that it's. I mean, the way people describe how Google goes out there, it sends out spiders or bots going through the World Wide Web, just searching on each. But it can only search on the pages that are open and visible. Okay. So if you've got pages, and so, for example, on my website, I've got private portal area where my brides and grooms, or brides and brides come in, and they have their own space, which is where we put together their ceremony.
Yeah.
No one else can see it. Google can't see it. It's hidden, and that's just a private space that we have. So yeah, that's not, you don't need to do anything to improve that.
And worry about optimizing that.
There we go. The first page is, if you're going to focus on one area of your website, concentrate on your first page, your main page, focus on that. That's the first page to start. Then work on your other services after that, or your about page. But if you're going to concentrate on one area, do it on your main page.
Okay, let's go into keywords a little bit more, because obviously they are super, super important. That's what Google's looking for on your page. They're kind of like search phrases, aren't they? Or what people would be typing into Google.
Yes.
How specific do people need to get? And, you know, let's say if someone was looking for wedding celebrant Kent, would that then be, you know, would you also want to get in celebrant Southwest or Southeast, and other kind of terminology around that? And then that kind of leads me into thinking, how do you do that in a natural way?
You want to be quite specific. You want to have your niche and really think what your niche is, whether it's location, whether it's your style of how you work, you know, all of that is very important. So the biggest searches, for example, would be wedding photographer.
Yeah.
So if someone types in wedding photographer, apart from Google My Business, which will bring up the most local people to your location, there are hundreds of thousands around the world wedding photographers. So you start off with photographer, millions and millions and millions. Then you can distill it down. Wedding photographer is still going to be hugely massive search, and there's no way you're going to appear for wedding photographer. Then you've got your UK wedding photographer. Again, thousands and thousands of wedding photographers. Mm-hmm. So you want to be really specific. If someone is searching for, if they just type in wedding photographer, they're going to see someone in Seattle, or someone in, you know, Australia, or someone in London, and they're up in Bradford, or, you know, so they're going to refine their search. So they're going to say wedding photographer in Bedford, or they might say reportage photographer, or, you know, if they've got a very specific idea of the style of photography they want.
Natural photographer, Kent, or
natural photographer, or elopement photography, they will then type that in. So they are the keywords that you want to be looking for. You want to be really looking at your business and thinking, what is it that I want to be found for? Mm. Even if it's just one thing that you want to be found for at the moment, you know, make that one page about that elopement photography. So if you're in Cornwall and you just do photography on the, you know, hilltops, cliff edges of Cornwall, then really distill it down to that. So elopement ceremonies and, you know, natural photography, all of that, all those phrases are what you want to be looking for in terms of keywords, because that is how people will start searching. When they realize what they want, they will be more and more specific, and then you will get to the top of that list because you have optimized your page to be found for that.
And then, are there kind of any keywords to avoid? We do a lot of work on Instagram, and you know, there is such things as like banned hashtags on Instagram and things like that. What, if any, kind of keywords should people avoid? I mean, you've obviously talked about don't make them too generic, but is there anything kind of else in terms of keywords that people should kind of
steer clear of?
In terms of steering clear, what I would say is think in terms of what your client is searching. So if you are very technical and you have great knowledge from the technical side of your business, and you talk to your colleagues and other people in the industry with certain words that none of your clients use, they will never find you for that phrase. They will never find you because they don't know themselves that that's what you're talking about. So I would say listen to your customers, listen to your existing customers, listen to look at reviews. What terminology do people use? Mm-hmm. Look on Google. Look on Google and see, because they come up with suggestions of what other people have searched for, and use phrases that your clients will use. Don't use phrases that you think you should be found for if no one looks for that, because
and this is it as well in terms of, you know, your business name. You know, fantastic. Like if people know that we're called House of Oliver Bridal and they Google House of Oliver Bridal, guess what? I'm going to come up. But if they know of us anyway, they're probably going to come and visit us if they know of us and they're searching for us anyway. Mm-hmm. It's those people that are looking for dresses in a particular area, bridal wear, bridesmaids, groom's wear, that don't know our business name. Really, that kind of area that we want keywords to kind of be ranking for, so that people then know our business and see more of our business.
Yes. So you know, look, if you have a particular style or a particular type of bride that will come to you, that's your ideal client, you want to be thinking in the same way as they're thinking when they're searching. So, you know, if you, for example, specialized in larger brides, you know, because and there are certain bridal shops obviously cater for the larger bride, then that is something that they're going to be really working on to make sure that the larger brides find them as a store and will travel to them to do it. You know, if your style is more, you know, contemporary or Italian style, then
handmade,
you know, and you may sell other styles as well. But if your ideal client, the client that you think would be absolutely perfect for you, if you just consider them and really focus in on them, you will still get others coming to you, but you will get your absolute ideal client searching in the same way as you're promoting your website.
And that is where you kind of want to be coming up, isn't it? No, that's great. So we've talked Google My Business keywords, we've done backlinks. Is there anything else that kind of wedding professionals can go away and think, oh, do you know what? I'm going to get this right before all those Valentine's engagements come around in the next few weeks?
With SEO, it's making sure your website is running well. So you need to look to see that all your pages are running correctly. You need to check that all your technical parts behind it are working correctly. I'm going to throw in some phrases here, but there's meta titles and meta descriptions, which all have your keywords in. Easy to find when you know, but these are all places you need to be looking. Mm-hmm. But these will all help you. So just getting all of your structure of your website straight, clean, fast will pay dividends no end. get your social media really buzzing as well, because that will link you back in. Make sure your website is on your Facebook page. Make sure you're linking everywhere into your website, so that Google trusts you even more.
Yeah, and go back and look at those kind of style sheets that you've been a part of and make sure that they are linking back to your website. We were quite lucky. We got featured when we had the bridal shop in the Sun newspaper, and I hammered them for ages to link back to our site because they mentioned me like 4 times.
Can we have a backlink,
but no link, and I proper hammered them because I was like, if we go on the Sun, which has millions of hits a day, that's really going to improve our ranking.
I mean, somewhere like that, to go out to big publications, if you can get out there, if you get your PR going, if you can get those links to your website name linked into any of their sites, then that is gold, because not only are they directing people that have read the article to you, but also your SEO is then working because Google is seeing that this massive organization has referenced you, and but they can be small publications as well, work up to that, great if you can get into somewhere like that. And if it's
harder and harder now, when we first started our business kind of 12 years ago, you could just phone them up and say, oh, we've got a new line of dresses in, or we've expanded the shop, and they'd be all for it. Whereas now it's harder and harder, and actually people have whole businesses dedicated to getting PR.
100%. But offer to write blogs for them. So offer to write a blog for a publication, because then you will get that link back through. So blogs don't have to just be on your own website. You can write for other people, and that not only gets your story out there and your keywords, but it also links you back and creates that backlink. So there's all sorts of things you can be doing.
I think as we touched on blogging, and blogging's great for your website because it's new content, isn't it? It's new content for Google to crawl.
Correct.
So your website doesn't look stale. But the other thing about blogging as well is that, loads of reasons to be blogging, but naturally to get your keywords in. But what we always say about blogging is that, think in terms of your ideal client and what they are searching for on Google. So they might be searching for, what's the difference between a celebrant and a registrar, or why would I want a celebrant for my wedding, or how do I have a more sustainable wedding? All of these things, that's then make really good blog posts for you. Yes. Because as they Google that,
you're wanting to answer the questions that your clients will be asking, because if you can answer that, you've already a step in the right direction in terms of them trusting you as an expert in your field. So your blogs, don't spend a lot of time just doing really and we're all creative, so we want to be artistic, and we want to cover sort of maybe more ethereal things around our subject areas. But actually the most effective blogs are going to be those that answer the questions. Either they are linked in with a venue, and therefore people are searching the venue, and then they find you because you've written an article about a wedding that was at that venue, or you're answering a question they've got about sustainability in the wedding. I want a sustainable wedding, or I want an outdoor, how do I even organize a teepee wedding? And if you can answer that question, because people just Google what the questions they have in their heads will go straight into Google. And if you can answer that with using that same terminology they've asked the question, and you can answer that direct question, your blog will come to the top. And
I think this is it, it's about you thinking like your client. You might think, oh God, I've answered this question 100,000 times before, everybody must know how to arrange a wedding, or if you were allowed to get married outdoors in the UK or in England. But actually, people quite often get married for the first time, or maybe if they're getting married again, they're doing it in a different kind of way. And these are things that people genuinely want to and need to know. And where do we go? Google.
We go to Yes. And fresh content will be seen as being the most up-to-date, the most relevant content supplied. So just because someone else wrote it 4 years ago, your piece of content that you wrote a month ago is going to be far more up-to-date and more appropriate. And if you keep repurposing your content as well, so you look at your older blogs and update them, and Google will recognize that they've been republished and it's been tweaked and it's been brought up to date with current legislation or current,
and that's a great one. Yeah.
So, keep your all your information current and up to date.
I think that's it as well, because what we kind of forget, and we say this on social media quite a lot, that, we've got a lifespan of our client, and then they're married, they're not that interested in our services anymore. Yes, they might recommend a friend, but then that person would then be Googling your specific business because they know of your business. But in terms of repurposing content, you've got like a fresh cohort of people coming all of the time that you're wanting to attract into your business, isn't it? So people that haven't read that blog before, people that haven't had that question answered before. So it's something that, you think, oh, I've already shared this.
There's nothing wrong with resharing
or
repurposing.
Yeah,
for sure.
Honestly, repurposing and using that content to then create social media from it as well, and start, linking it out and in your social media, linking back to your blog, and it's all that connecting. Google loves all the connections. It loves you connecting within your website. That's your links. It loves you connecting out to people. It loves the backlinks which are coming from other websites. It loves all those links. So if you have a blog, make sure that your social media connects back to it so people can read in more detail, and it's all those links that just grow your value as a supplier.
No, that's great. I think actually
I've learned so much.
You've made
That's normal.
It really easy for people to kind of go away and think. So I think I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask you this question anyway. As in, right after this episode, people are motivated to kind of think, right, okay, I need to focus on my website. What's one thing that somebody could go away and do to improve their rankings at the end of this episode?
The one thing I would say is your quick hit is to look at Google My Business.
I thought so.
Because it's just gold. It's there. It's free. It's run by Google. Google is the biggest search engine. If you're not even looking at that and getting some reviews on it, and reviews on Google have to be from a Google account, so you can't just put reviews on. But go out, maybe ask 3 of your suppliers that you've worked with, or 3 of your customers that you've worked with. And it doesn't have to just be clients that do your reviews. It can be people you've done a styled shoot with and you've worked together for that day, or you work with regularly. Do 3 reviews. Review 3 of your colleagues, and hopefully they'll review you back. And it's that reciprocal as well. People that you trust, obviously don't just go out, reviewing any Tom, Dick or Harry. Make sure it's someone that you would want to give that affirmation about that person, because you respect the way they work and their products or whatever it is. But by reciprocating and getting those reviews back, those quality reviews are amazing. Don't go out there and spam. I've seen this before when on a styled shoot, everyone has reviewed everyone else on the same day. And Google have just pulled the plug. They've just gone, hold on, this isn't right. This isn't normal activity. So just take 3, start slow, just review 3 people, or ask 3 of your previous clients, just to put a review on for you. And that's worth its weight in gold. But just really look at improving your whole Google My Business, or create a Google My Business account and get it started, because it's
okay. My last question, because I was like, while you're here, I'm going to ask you. So let's say we've worked on our website and it's up there ranking top 2 or maybe first one. How often do we need to come back to this? Is that then okay? Lovely, that's done now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I can rest for the next 12 months.
Oh, wouldn't that be lovely?
Wouldn't it?
You've always just got to keep an eye on it. It's just that, keeping it fresh, keeping it relevant, just making sure that your site is still performing, that a link hasn't broken, that you haven't changed something and that's broken something somewhere else. And there are tools out there which can help you to try and understand what's going on in your website. But just keep an eye on your website. Make sure that you're just keeping it current, that you're keeping up to date with things. Do the odd blog, get the content out there, and just keep it ticking over. It doesn't have to be a lot of work, but just keep an eye on it, because like anything, it can just slide away if you just keep your eye off it completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep your eye on
so you've got a free challenge coming up, haven't you? Just thinking,
I have.
So if people are kind of thinking, I could do with even just spurring on, or somebody telling me, right, today we're going to focus on this, and tomorrow. So tell us a little bit about that.
I'm doing a 4-day challenge, which is just short, sharp, half an hour in the morning, each morning for 4 days in the week. Which will be looking at ways that you can kickstart your SEO and really just getting it moving and areas to look at. And it's just very light level. It's nothing too difficult, but it just gets you focused in again on thinking about SEO. So that starts on the 14th of February.
Valentine's Day.
That's a Monday, so it's a Monday morning. Don't worry, it's not in your evenings. These lovely meals that we're all going to be treated to on Monday evening. But it's just a half hour, go away, think about it, put into action, and we've just got a push to just try.
Yeah, and it's nice to have that support as well, because I imagine there's going to be other people in the challenge in a similar boat.
There will be. We're all wedding industry professionals, so it's all going to be wedding industry people. And the focus is February. I know we're in the height of engagement season, so we are getting the inquiries in, but we're not in the height of wedding season itself. Yeah. So there's still plenty of time to just get those things in place. I've got a course coming up that starts in March, which will really go into detail and hold people's hands through the process. It's an 8-week course, different subject every week, where we'll look at it, give you tools, free tools to go away and really just improve your site. So I've got all of that coming up, really just to boost it all before wedding season starts. Then it can tick away. Google can do its bit, send out its bots to go all over your website and start promoting you. And then we can review it again in the autumn.
It's going to be one of those things that you think, social media brings me in so much. This is where I get so much of my work. But actually, if pop your head on of your client, if I'm looking for something specific, and it isn't just Google, actually.
No, it isn't just
Google. There's YouTube, there's Pinterest, these are all search engines as well.
Absolutely.
They're the places I go to search for things.
Yes.
And, maybe a little bit of work at the beginning, but actually after that, it becomes easier and easier.
It does become easier. It does become easier, and it's just keeping it ticking over and just keeping fresh content coming in and just keeping an eye just to make sure that everything's working correctly.
Oh, fab. So we'll pop all the details of your course and the challenge into the show notes so that people can kind of go and find you and find your group as well. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been great. It's not giving me kind of an SEO headache.
No.
I'm pleased to hear that.
Yeah.
We covered a lot. We covered a huge amount there.
Yeah, and I think to be fair, we've definitely learned some bits. I've took some notes while you've been talking. You need to go and do that.
But it's just take it in small bites. Each area that we're talking about is just an improvement in each area, and each improvement will just push you a bit further. And that's all you have to consider. So just taking it in small bites.
And I think the motivation really is, if you think of all of the people in your local area that could be searching for a modern celebrant or a modern florist, that's masses and masses of people.
It is.
And I can't even think how many hits Google must get a day. People searching. Yeah, it's crazy. So, if that kind of gives you like a bit of a push that this actually is worthwhile.
Definitely is.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It's been really lovely.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been lovely.
Okay.
No problem. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll get all those details in the show notes, guys. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.